it's Dominic Flux, and today we're going to be talking about jewelry transformations, what it is, when we do it, how we do it. Transformations are basically when we transform a client's old jewelry into new. Usually it's heirloom jewelry that we will unset the stones, remelt the gold into a new piece, and then set the stones back in. It's a really great way of giving a second life to a piece that, you know, you really love. It holds a lot of sentimental value. Usually it's from a family member, like a grandmother or mother, that's been given to you, but that it's like really ugly or it's just not in like modern design. And so what we do is we just give it a new look. So today we're going to be following the process for my client. She had got into ring when she was very young in Australia, so it has a little bit of meaning for her. It's an opal ring. The client sent me her pieces via mail. These are the rings that the client sent me. So this is the opal ring. We're not actually going to be using this opal for it. We're going to be using this small one here in the pendant. So when you're doing a transformation, you want to make sure that all the gold is the same carat. Like, you're not going to mix 10 with 14 or 18 or whatever. It has to be the same carat throughout. These ones are stamped inside. This one's 14, this one's 10. So we're not actually going to be using this one, but I just wanted to show you if they weren't stamped and I wasn't sure of the gold. The process that we would be doing is I would just acid test it. So that's where we take this acid here with like this piece of slate, like it's like a stone. We would do the scratch test. Okay, so here are the results. So this one's here is 10 karat. So see here, it's starting to kind of fade up here in the 14 karat acid on the first bar. The second bar is 10 karat, and see, and it's a lot more vibrant, showing that it's 10 karat versus 14. This is actually silver. This is 14 and this is 14, because as you can see in the 14 karat acid up here on the top line, it's still showing quite strong. And so the very first step of what we did was we actually unset the stones. Whenever you're doing a transformation, you do have to keep into consideration that like the older the piece is, the higher the chances that the stones can actually be broken inside of the rings, especially if it's soft stones like opals or emeralds. There is a high risk that they can break or they are already actually broken inside the metal. But what I mean by that is that you may not see it when you look at the piece, but when you actually unset the prongs, it was just the metal that was kind of keeping it in place. And so once there's nothing keeping it in place, it just kind of like crumbles. So my average for broken stones, honestly, is probably like 1 out of 20 diamonds will be cracked. So it's really not high. It's not something that you want to worry too much about, but you have to keep in mind that that is a possibility, especially if you're dealing with rings that are like, you know, like 30, 40, 50 years old. The chances will increase. With the materials that we have, we will then come up with a design based off of kind of like what the client likes. You know, generally people will send me 2 or 3 images like within kind of like a general style or aesthetic, and then from that I'll kind of extract like the base elements. I'll make them a design. Once they okay the design, we make it in 3D. You can see what that looks like right here. Once the 3D is approved, then we actually go into the fabrication. All the stones will be unset by the stone setter. We will then remelt the gold, clean it, remove any solder if there is, and then recast it. Process that isn't super long. The fabrication side of things in the 3D design is usually no more than 2 weeks. The longest is when like it's a little bit more on the design side. So usually the design time takes about a week, and then you have to think about an additional 2 weeks for the fabrication. So it's not actually that long. The longest is when the client wants to see like many alterations, or sometimes they want to see like actually like 2 designs and then compare. And that's generally the longest part. After that, it's really like 7 to 10 business days for fabrication, and then we ship it out. But as you can see in the final piece, we reused the opal, we reused the gold, and all we did was added 1 additional diamond on the side. And so this is what the final piece looks like. It looks absolutely stunning. It's super cute. We did kind of like a boho feel to it. The client was very, very happy. When we're casting old gold, we can't actually mix it in with new gold because we don't know the alloys, which means that like we have to cast it by itself. We do this because there's no actual standardization of what goes in every single carat. Like everybody will have their own slight different mixture of alloys. That's why sometimes when you go to shops, some 14 karat yellows will look slightly more yellow than others. We can't just cast somebody's old gold with new gold because we don't know what's in it. And it doesn't happen often, but I have had times where the alloys in someone's gold was so bad that it created a crater effect on the surface of the metal. So instead of being smooth, it created little craters within the metal itself. And when that happens, there's nothing you can do. It's really the gold isn't of good quality. What ends up happening is we have to actually fill it by laser with solder. and then clean it, which is a huge amount of work. It doesn't happen often, but that is something you have to keep in mind when casting old gold. For these reasons, it's actually also more expensive to reuse old gold than new, because every single time that we get a new project, we have to cast it separately because we don't know what's in it, which means that we can't cast it with new gold, so we have to cast it separately. Normally we would be casting, you know, like an entire tree. By a tree, I mean like it's kind of like a little tree with like all of the pieces attached to it, and we cast about 20 at a time. But when we're casting clients gold, then we have to do one at a time. So the labor fees are divided by 20, or are now just going into one single cylinder. So it goes up quite fast. Sometimes clients think that in reusing the old gold, there will be kind of like a reduce in cost, but because of all of these additional labor fees involved, it doesn't really balance itself out. This is something that I would only really do for gold. In terms of silver, the cost of silver is so low that you would be paying through the roof in terms of labor fees, and then the actual cost of the piece itself will not be very high. And so for clients who ask me for these silver pieces, it's just not advantageous for you. It's not because we can't do it, it can be done. It's just that you're going to be paying so much in labor and the final piece won't be worth a whole lot. So all our work is obviously done here by ourselves in Montreal in this super cute little studio downtown. If you'd like to work with us, just send us a DM via our Instagram or send us an email. We answer really quickly. If you have any more questions or comments, obviously just leave them down below and we'll be happy to answer them. If you want more examples of the work that we've done, you can always go to Find and Flux. Our Instagram, we have like a very large portfolio. I guess we'll see you next time. Thank you for watching.